Good morning and welcome to Life and Style, this Relationship Wednesday. Talk to Pastor Chris is the segment that we are on right now, and I am your host, Chris J. Temo. Well, as usual, every morning we begin with this, every Wednesday morning, and we bring you topical issues, matters that are close to you, things that would improve on and build your relationships. We're coming to you from the 4 Points by Sheraton, right here in Harlingen, not too far from the city center. It's a place you can come to both for business and for leisure. You want to hang out with your friends, your family. You want to have some corporate training, leadership training, retreats, whatever it is, conferences. This is a place for you to come to. I've got a panel with me, as always. I always would have a panel, and I've got a panel with me of three, two ladies and one gentleman, who will be helping us have the discussion today on the matters. How do you deal with a financial crisis? Remember, the hashtag is KTN Life and Style. Social media platforms at KTN Life _ Style for both Twitter and Instagram, KTN Life and Style for Facebook. How do you deal with financial crisis in a relationship? Your views, your thoughts, your perspectives, your questions, your answers, whatever it is, put it right over there. Tweet, whatever you need to do. The hashtag KTN Life and Style. Well, I'll have my panel introduce themselves, beginning from my father's left. Sebi, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Very well.
All right.
Yeah.
My name is Sebi Kokeo. I'm a communication and PR.
All right. And then in the middle, the gentleman.
Thank you very much. My name is Pastor Paul Muhammad. I'm a finance and investment advisor. Thank you very much.
All right. And then...
My name is Milka Ruhara. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a relationship coach and a counselor as well. I love the place.
Yeah. You can do your coaching from here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Is there anything like a financial crisis? Let me just start from there. Is there anything like a financial crisis in a relationship? Is it seasons? Is it challenges? Is there anything like a crisis?
I would say yes, there is, because money is a really big issue if it's not openly discussed, or if there's no dialogue about it. That is something that we cannot dismiss, that now, okay, there is no money. It has to be there. It's what runs our daily life. So if there is a problem or a challenge between the couples, I would say there's a financial crisis in a relationship.
Okay, so how would we define a crisis in terms of finance? Is it the lack of the money? Is it how the money is being used? What would we define, Paul?
I would want to define a crisis as a situation where things are not working as they should, right? So sometimes probably the money is there, but it's not going to the direction it should be going. Maybe because there has not been any agreement in terms of what the money should be doing. Yeah, we'll understand there are some personalities that they would like to spend everything that comes their way, and others would want to invest. So if there's a disconnect in the way the couple moves along, then there's a crisis.
There's a crisis. So the crisis is not always the lack of money. Okay. Milka.
Okay, maybe I can start with this statement that is normally quoted, that money is the root of all evil, but I want to disagree. It is not true. Money in itself is good, and it makes things easier. And as Pastor Paul has said, that a crisis, a financial crisis, doesn't necessarily mean that it's only when there is no money. Even when it's a lot, there can be a crisis, as Sebi again has also said, when there is no plan of how to utilize this money, how to spend it. And again, yes, somebody else may see there's a lot of money, I need to spend it and finish it. The other person says, no, we need to invest on this money. So I believe there should be a financial planning in a family setup, or where there are people relating and spending money together. There must be a plan of how they'll spend that money.
So what is it that causes this? You know, okay, we talk about there could be a situation where there's a lot of money, but then we don't know how to go about it. We don't know how to go about the money. Then there are also those cases where there is no money. And I would like us to focus a little bit more now on the part where there is no money. Maybe a loss of a job, business gone sour, something that did not work, an investment that did not go through. How a couple is supposed to navigate through, you used to have this money, you're used to a certain kind of lifestyle, then suddenly the money is gone. How are we supposed to go about it? Sebi.
I would say that that's a very interesting one. As we join, relationship is, I would say it's one. I mean, you marry everything else, including your thoughts, your ideologies, your goals, your beliefs. Therefore, you need to know that at some point you may come in to help your partner in case of a job loss or a problem. Therefore, this one depends on your onset goals from the word go. If you're going to get a person to start with, I mean, how your path looks like in future depends on how you both of you are going to openly talk about your financial, both whether you call it crisis or the good times and the bad times. Yeah, so you need to know that you will at some point come in. Nobody is, I mean, solid that it's forever forward. So I think it needs communication and an open dialogue.
All right. Well, what happens when somebody feels like it's not totally something that is, it just happened by fate, where they feel somebody either did not listen to advice or they're kind of responsible? If I took money, for example, that was family money, I put it in an investment without my partner knowing, probably because I was not sure that they would agree with me over it, and then the investment doesn't work. And then here we are in a crisis, and Sebi is saying that, sometimes you've got to come in and support the other person. How is it supposed to be when one person feels the other person is responsible for where they are at?
I think if initially there was no agreement in terms of what they wanted to do with the money, then what the default setting will be blame game. The one who feels aggrieved will feel the other person did the wrong thing. But of course, if they had agreed from the outset, then they're able now to look for solutions instead of blaming each other. And that makes all the difference. That's why now the communication she mentioned, it makes all the difference. Because if we had agreed that we are going to go from point A to B, and then along the way something happens, because now everything is not in our hands. It's God who controls everything. So if something happens along the way, then we're able to now track how far are we from where we wanted to go. Now what do we need to do from here? But if one is trying to be cheeky, then the game changes to blame game. That changes the whole function of the marriage.
Yeah, but how do we work around that? That's where I am at. Like, one person did not share for whatever reasons. Again, when it comes to things like investment, you will find there's somebody who's daring, there's a risk taker, there's somebody who's a bit reserved and something. So I may feel that this is an opportunity that I really want to go for. And I think my partner may not understand it because they're very reserved. So it's not so much out of cheek. It's this where you think this may be a good opportunity. And then you're afraid they're not going to come along. But then you go into it and you burn your fingers.
Okay, so you take the risk of getting into this. Maybe it's an investment, and it goes sour. So that means you've lost money.
Yes.
I want to tend to think like, okay, here we are. We're in a mess. It is only fair if the partner will share with the other person, this is what I did, and this has happened. I need help. What do we do? Because now, me who didn't participate in that, do I let my family go down the drain because I'm the one, or rather, I didn't participate in that? I can't watch us suffering, and yet I'm in a position to come in and assist. So I guess for the partner who may have gone into that investment that has failed, it is their duty and responsibility to sit down with their partner and actually share exactly things as they are. I put in this money and we've lost. I need help. Where do we start from? How do we recover and get back on our feet? So again, communication is key. It may not work out as probably you would wish. Like, for example, you expect her to just say, yes, it's okay. I mean, you may really find resistance and some nil by mouth for some days, Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think it will require for the couple to actually sit down and be able to sort the issue out and see how they are going to recover from that loss. And be a lesson to learn.
How many times? I'm going to ask that. Yeah, how many times is somebody supposed to bail the other out? Because some people don't learn as fast. In fact, sometimes the money invested was probably money that probably somebody borrowed. Like, my partner borrows money, which we're supposed to do something with. Then I take it to invest it. I'm thinking, if I can multiply this money, then I can get her back the one that she borrowed. Then we do something else. And my intentions are very clear. My motives are very good. And I'm convinced. Probably Sebi is selling me an idea, and I'm convinced if I get into this, I'm going to get some good returns on it. Now, my partner has already borrowed money. Then I've taken the money and I've messed it up. I'm coming back to explain. I lost money, and it's the money that you borrowed. How is that supposed to go?
This is where I said that communication comes in. I mean, somebody might be seeing what you don't see. Therefore, you have to involve your partner on this. You need to tell her, whatever you will see when you come in with an investment, you might not see. And I would like to share as well. Yeah. So you have to be open enough to say, life is a risk itself. I mean, we are not sure of waking up tomorrow morning, yeah, but we live in hope. Therefore, if you come and say that, I hope this will work this time round, you need to present your cards on the table, you need to share with me, then we need to look at it on different perspectives. Then we come up with a conclusion, like, let's go for it. If it backfires, well and good, we pick it from there. However, we are not going to put a tag on how many times you are going to bail out your person. This is your person. He gets your car run off, written off, I mean. Next time he gets whatever, you're not going to say, okay, now you've done so many mistakes, it's the end.
But some people do that, don't they?
Yeah,
The
Yes.
people who do that, the
Exactly.
people who say, I have been bailing out this person
Yeah.
too many times, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah?
I guess you can get tired. I mean, I'm a human, yes, to get tired. And then I think, why not now look for a solution, maybe intervention from probably a friend or somebody that this person can listen to, so that he can be able to curb that, would it be greed, or maybe that carelessness, or
I would want to call it carelessness.
carelessness,
Yes,
because
yes,
it can't be first time, second time, third time. I mean, I mean that one. No, we need to sit down and really sort this thing out. Otherwise, you're going to mess the entire family, and by the time you are getting back on your feet, you've lost so much. So I guess yes, there must be a stop when now it becomes recurrent.
There are people that are not business oriented. Um, so they'll keep on taking money and say, I want to do something, I want to invest, there's a business idea, then it comes down. They try the next one, then it comes down. They try the next one, it comes down. And so the family begins to suffer. The relationship is at a difficult place financially, because this person is pushing themselves towards something that probably they're not built for. Are there people who should just look for a job?
I would want to say this. The family must agree on their investment future. Do they want to get into business, or do they want to get into passive income generating activities? Because there are people who are not, they are not wired to do business. And you must understand that most of the decisions we make are basically emotional. Maybe we had someone, or maybe we had on TV or something, then we want to get into it. The money that is for the investment purposes for the family must be put somewhere that both partners can control. We are not going to allow you to get our 1 million, then when it's lost, then you come and give me stories. Before you withdraw it, let's discuss. You know, the Bible also says that 2 heads are better than 1. So let's sit down, it's our money. Lord, let's discuss. If we see it the same way, then let's withdraw the money. If we get burnt, then we can't
Both
proceed.
of us take responsibility.
Yes.
But it's true,
So
there are
let's
people
agree.
who are not cut out for business.
Yeah, there are
so
people who are
if
not.
that's not you, please stay away.
Yes, please. And
Yes.
admit it.
Yes.
And again, when you're talking about communication in a relationship, I mean, you can't say you're going to try every other thing. You're not Kila Kitu Enterprise. I mean, you're not going to have this, have this, have this. This is the same amount of energy you'll bring when you're communicating to your partner. She'll tell you, no, you're not good at this, so we can't try this. Yeah, you can't completely try this.
Sometimes people think, when their partners are the cautionary type, they feel my partner doesn't support me. And sometimes they've seen the other person make mistakes. And so they're a bit jittery about any new idea that comes in. And someone begins to feel my partner does not support me. What are they supposed to do? What's the other partner supposed to do?
How well do you know your partner? Yeah. How well do you know your partner?
Yeah.
Because you have to understand what we call the money personality. There are people who just want to keep holding money and piling it in the bank. There are people, the moment money comes, they even spend it before it comes in. So you need to understand how well do you know this person. Because until you are in agreement, you're not likely to go very far. So you need to understand what are your objectives as a person. How are you wired? Are you a risk taker or are you risk averse? And then how can we come into middle ground so that you don't feel cheated? Because again, we are on a journey together. Yes.
Now, in the cases where probably somebody has lost a job, where one person, for example, has lost a job, and then it's taking a while for them to get another job. Maybe they're not the kind of business inclined, and it's taking a while. They're doing everything that they can to get a job. They're sending out CVs, they're doing everything they can. The job is not forthcoming. And their partner is beginning to strain. They're beginning to feel the weight because probably the house they are in, they moved in having agreed that our collective income is this amount, so we can afford a house of this amount. And some people do divide the chores, the responsibilities. So somebody knew that they would be doing probably groceries and some other things, and the utilities, one person would be doing the rent. Now everything is with one person. What happens at that stage?
Well, I agree that it can be strenuous for one partner when especially this other partner has stayed for so long without getting this job. And I think the best thing maybe a couple should do is to look at other alternatives of what this other person can do, because again, you can't just stay at home doing nothing. Number one, you get into depression and stress because the fact that you're seeing your family suffering or your partner and there's nothing you can do. I believe there is something you can do. Probably you may not go full force into business since maybe it's not your area, but I guess trying out something that you may have interest in, that could help to ease the tension maybe, and even the financial gap that has been created by the fact that there is no extra income from this other partner. So the two partners can see how they can help each other. Maybe this person has an interest in a particular thing, there's something they're passionate about. They could look that out and see, can we try this? You see, at least there you're not just taking a risk for the sake of taking a risk, but you want to try out something that you think it might actually be able to provide or bring that extra income that is required.
What are the things that people should not try when they're in a crisis?
Break up.
The first one is get rich quick scheme. So you're likely to think deeper and deeper. Because you see, when you're in a crisis, you need money back. So you tend to go for deals that are likely to bring you money, according to the people who told you. But most of the time, they don't want that.
Are loans a good thing to take at the point where if we are stuck, we are down? I need money. Should I take a loan?
I think when you're in crisis also, fundamentally you need to lower your expectations. Yeah, you need to come to terms with the reality, and then you know, I am starting afresh, step by step. And this is not something you're gonna wake up and it's gone. So really, you need to take a process through it and before messing up or even thinking.
But should we take a loan? I'm coming back to what you're saying because that's a matter of adjustment, you know. Yeah, but should somebody take a loan?
For me, no. You shouldn't. Because especially if you want to venture into business that you've never done before, there's a tendency to want to take a loan to do that business. But for me, until a business can stand on itself, I think you should not take a loan. Yes, and especially for men, I like talking to men. I tell them that you have to lower your expectations. You have to take care of your ego and pride. Calm down. Start from zero, yes. You don't have to start big. You get? So you calm down, you realize that now things are not working as they should. Where do I start? Start from where you are. Because sometimes you take the loan so as to show our friends that we are still around. True Cotobado, we are still around. Yes. And do big things. But that's not how business works.
Yeah.
You have to start from zero. Yes.
That talks about adjustment, right?
Yes, adjustments, making changes, readjusting on our budgets, cut what you don't, unnecessary expenses. There are some things, honestly, that because money was there, you needed them. But now that there's no money, those wants can be put aside for the time being. So yes, adjusting, and especially I think for men, it's a hard blow. And because we still need to hang out with the buddies and the boys and really show them we are still okay, I think we need to accept, as Debbie is saying, let's accept that this is the situation we are in, and we really need to cut back on some things. Anything that will take you to extra spending, actually not, I would call them wants, because they're not necessary. You don't need them. Then that will help you to adjust slowly as you come back, or as you plan to come back.
There are easier decisions to make when it comes to adjustments. We may decide, you know, I'm not going to be, we don't need the pay TV, for example, just to cut down. We may decide there are certain other bills that we have, or certain things that we may reduce, you know, the amount of what we buy, things like that. There are others that are not very easy, like you had sent your children to school. You probably have 2 or 3 children in a particular school. You want to make this adjustment. And so you're balancing between your crisis and the kind of education you want your children to have. In terms of values, they have connected with friends, they have grown around a certain environment. How easy is that kind of a decision to make? Because I'm laughing because Milka is just, you know, she can't just even imagine that, you know. Because the other ones are so easy. I can decide, you know, I'll be taking the bus to work, so I won't drive, you know. But when it comes to things like children are involved, and there is a school.
It's actually very painful, because you see now there's the emotional adjustment they have to make for the children. You're also looking at your image. And even where you stay, you have to look at all those considerations. Yes, because you don't want to move them from up there to down suddenly. That also affects their self-esteem, because they'll keep asking themselves, what will my friends say? You get? But sometimes you are forced. Sometimes it's not even about wanting. It's about being forced by circumstances. So you have to make that decision. And you have to explain to the child, what is the situation? Why are we doing this? So that they understand.
Yeah, and I also think you don't wake up and find the crisis. I mean, it's a gradual. It's something you're foreseeing. Okay, this thing is sinking, and this is now where we are headed to. So it comes automatically that you are now readjusting. The kids will not even have the blue band and the natties every morning, so they will also get it. Pole pole, you can't have the 20,000 or wherever the picnics. So I think it's a in-house kind of mutual adjustment.
But you know, Sabi, when the blue band is going off and the batter is going off, at that point, either the father, the mother, or both of them are still hopeful that things are going to change. So they're not necessarily explaining to the children that the ship is beginning to sink. Because the captain never begins to explain that at the beginning. They start doing everything that they can. When they now feel that they are running out of options, that's when probably they're going to explain. So by the time you're removing all of this stuff that you can't afford it, the children, they still don't know how to deal with that. Then suddenly you come in and you've got to explain, and then they have to change schools. Are children really prepared for those kind of drastic moves, Milka?
I think we don't normally prepare our children for hard times. And any parent would want to give the best to their children. But we never prepare for tough times or hard times when there's no money, and your children should be able to understand, like, this month or this weekend you're not going for swimming, or I'll not take you out because I am not able to, I don't have money. We don't want to show our children that we could be having challenges. So I think already that is a challenge in itself, besides the finances. You know, being open and truthful. And then I also think the preparedness, where even as you're taking care of your family, I think we should be prepared for tough times. Like in case there is no money, know that you can go for a movie, or you may even have to change schools. Speaking from a personal experience, by the way, I had to remove my son from the school he was in, a prestigious school, to now an ordinary school. But of course, after a lot of counseling this child and explaining, and of course you give them hope that things will change. It's a seasonal thing. So I guess even us as
But that
couples.
wasn't easy, right?
Of course it wasn't easy. You know, you're even wondering which words are you going to use, how soft, you know, you're trying to make sure that the landing point is as soft as, but again, sometimes it's not possible. It has to come as it is. Yes, but then I guess, yes, let's prepare our children to know that there are times when there are hard times. Sometimes parents die and the children are left alone. They go up country. What happens? They have never walked without slippers, let alone shoes, on soil. Then they have to go to the toilets where they don't flush. You know, how do these kids adjust? I mean, we need to teach them even as they are growing from young ages, because they have understanding. Let them know that these things happen.
So we should do that even when there is money.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yes.
We should always prepare people for the rough days, even when we're in the smooth days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? You know, sometimes, at some point I was feeling like I was being cruel, so I would have this conversation with my sons. And I would have those kind of conversations. I'd say, you know, you guys, you need to do 1, 2, 3, you need to have like this. I say, you know, you may not have your father forever. I would say that you may not have your father forever. So don't think that these privileges will always be there for you. But then again, on the flip side, there are these people who have always said, you know, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. So that even when they genuinely don't have money, the child does not know the difference between the day that, and even the partner doesn't know the difference, because every day it's, I don't have money. It's an artificial crisis. How is one supposed to deal with an artificial crisis?
I think honesty is what is required here. Honesty is what is required here. Because you cannot be perpetual without money. You'll get money once in a while. God is not so unfair. You get? So once in a while you have some money, just treat your family, take care of them. I tell them, this is what I've got. What can we do? What is the priority here? So that at least they understand, even when you don't have consistently, once in a while you get.
You know, those cases, Sebi, where somebody lost a job.
Yes.
Yeah, so they say they have no income, but they're always out. They're in the clubs, they're drinking, and they say it's the friends.
Yeah, yes.
They say the friends bought me this, and the friends bought me this. How is one supposed to handle that?
I think it's only prudent enough to be open with your partner and to know their financial capability. You see, the idea that you don't know how much, you don't ask for bank slips or anything, but it's always good to know your husband's or your wife's, you know, financial stability, so that you don't expect too much or you have low expectations. Besides, you're not going to tell me that you do not have money and you're ever in a bar with friends and having fun. You see, it works with, I mean, it doesn't need a rocket science that people will not be buying for you drinks every day. So it means you don't have priorities with your money. And it means we've not set the priorities back at home. We've not had a dialogue back at home of how we should spend our money. Where you put your money in a relationship or marriage, I'm not married, but I think dictates how you will live your life in future. So if you decide that I am going to spend my money in a bar, then, and your wife is back at home trying to get her money to the process of all those things, the kids and the rent, then I think this is not a relationship or a marriage. Yeah, you guys are just there by association.
And some people will say, they'll justify it. They'll say, you know, I'm stressed. I'm stressed because things are not working and all of that, and so that's why I'm out there. I'm just trying to get the stress off.
Let me tell you from experience. When I lost my job a few years ago, I used to pull those stunts. Because I used to drink, and every time I wanted to avoid too many questions from my wife, I would take off and go to the bar. That time she didn't know whether I have some coins. So I'll come and drink. But let me tell you, the stress will only last, okay, the break from the stress, it's only for those 2-3 hours. In the morning, the stress is back. So now you are more stressed, you are minus the money, and of course now you don't know how to face your wife. So sometimes I think it's just defeatist. It can't work. Yes, it won't work. Yes, it will only work for a few days. Yes, it won't work for you.
So what's somebody supposed to do? I mean, shake off the excuses.
Shake off the excuses. Accept that things have changed. Yes. Even your friends, you need to put them in place. You don't need to show up in the bars. You know you can't afford it. They are offering to buy. How do you drink comfortably and at home there is no milk, there is no food? Honestly, take responsibility. I mean, accept your situation has changed. Reduce those bar visits and the drinks. Instead, use that money if you have it at home. If it's friends who are supporting you and they are genuine friends, why don't they come and support in the house? Buy food for the children or something like that. But you can't have, you want to remain in the status quo of where you are and things have really changed. You are lying to yourself, and that's really going to depress you. Because yes, out there as you're laughing, but you'll be back to the problem. So you really need to be sober up and start facing the situation and look for help, even if it is those friends or people that you can, without fear, go to and tell them, this is the situation I'm in, I need help.
There are people who fear staying at home, especially if they're men. They fear staying at home because they think the wife will push and push and push and keep on reminding them that they're not at a good place. So they actually say they need to go out there because if they're in here, they will have more stress.
Being at home and going out is relative. I mean, your partner just needs to understand you. And that's it. I mean, you're not going to stay the whole day doing nothing. Yeah, if at all you're going out and doing nothing, it's all the same, you are out. So going out or staying home is relative. It only depends on what you're doing with the time that you're home. Are you helping your partner? Are you giving finance? I mean, it's not about the finance, but about the emotional support. I mean, communication. I'm not trying to make women look good, but I'm saying that sometimes women can understand their partners very well. They can endure. We've seen women stand by their partners and build them, yeah, behind successful, all those shenanigans. However, it's always difficult when a man does that, exactly, and a woman gets to some level, and then they're kind of shaky relationship. It always touches men more, unlike women. When you stand by him when he doesn't have money, and when a man stands by a woman in times of problems.
What are some of those things that you think can creep in if a financial crisis is not managed well? What are some of those possibilities?
I think for the first one, of course, is the society. They'll want to come in and intervene, and not necessarily for your own benefit. So you'll have your relatives, your brothers and sisters, your parents coming in and trying to manipulate you. Now, sometimes, because every time you are spending money, but then it's not coming in as fast. So quickly the money will run out, and then you get into debt, and funny lies, you get into depression very easily. So sometimes it's very important to manage your relationship, the two of you. Understand that the situation is yours. How do we manage it as the two of us? If we are to seek help, who is the right person to talk to us? The best person actually should be someone who is not emotionally attached to you. Don't bring in your sister-in-law to come and give you advice. Because chances are they'll be told, what are you doing with this man? Pesa imeisha. Can't you take off? That's not what normally happens. So be very intentional in terms of where you seek advice from. Yes.
All right. What are some of those that, some of those things that can creep in if we've not managed the crisis well? Because I'm just thinking about that when we're talking about sometimes people begin to take off, feel like they need to go out there and socialize, and so they're leaving their family and they're justifying themselves. They say, I'm stressed or I'm depressed, I just need to be out there. What are some of those dangers that can also come in?
Some of the dangers that can come in besides now the personal depression and bitterness towards your partner, anger. And out there you may actually, because of the state you are in, land in more problems like those too good to be true deals. Yeah. Somebody would just want to tell you there's gold we can sell. They are never true. Yeah, so some of those emotional strains that come, which now result into anger, into bitterness, now physical fighting, between the couples. And of course, the misunderstanding, no communication,
lack of money increases stress levels, right?
Yes.
Stress levels
they go high, and you can actually start even fighting, physical fighting. People fight, to to a point of hurting one another. We've seen suicidal results where because of the financial depression in the house, people choose to take their lives, you know, of course. Then sometimes also people indulge in immoral relationships. You think that it's a solution, you know, somebody comes and you feel like they are more loving or they are more caring than your wife. They, you know, they don't stress you. So you end up now having affairs outside the marriage. And of course you desert the family. And you really fall out of relating with even your children, if there are children in the marriage or in the relationship.
How should we prepare as we begin to wind up? How should we prepare? We talked about that there may be tough days ahead that we do not envisage sometimes. How should we prepare financially? Are we supposed to save? What are we supposed to do? Because that can happen to anybody. How are we supposed to prepare?
I don't think we should prepare like maybe the job will go away, but I think it all needs you need to prioritize.
I'm not very sure he will agree with you.
Yeah. you need to prioritize. I mean, you need to know where your money goes and what you want to do just in case something happens. But I don't think we live like tomorrow we will not have a job. That's why we save. That's why we have the banks. That's why we have the investment.
So actually, she's still agreeing with you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's gone round and round, but she still
Yeah,
comes
come
back.
back.
Yeah, you come
I
back.
think you want her.
Preparedness.
Okay, for me, I would say it's very important to understand that when you come together as a couple, you are on a journey together. You need to understand, where are we going? What do we need to get there? What would happen if a scenario emerged? You must have a best case scenario and worst case scenario. So you need to have an emergency fund for the family. Other than over and above now what you plan to invest, you need to have a fund that takes care of emergencies, that can take care of emergencies for say 6 to 1 year. So that in case anything happens, you don't have now to go back to what you had invested and sell at throwaway prices because you never planned. So financially, let me tell you, most of the divorces you have in this world are related to money. When everything is working nicely, people are lovey-dovey and all those things. But when the money runs out, everything else runs out with it. So unless you are very focused financially, things will go haywire, and you now start blaming each other, remembering things that should have been forgotten a long time ago, just because the money ran out. So that comes down to planning. This is how much we can afford to invest. This is how much we can afford to put in an emergency fund on the side. And this is how we are going. If this happens, then we'll do this. Then you start working together.
First of all, I have a question. I see a case where you don't have enough to put the fund or to save. What happens?
What do you mean by that?
I'm saying your money, whatever, both the spouses. You don't have extra to save. How
Then
do
you
work
cut down
with
on the
that?
expenditure. Cut down on the expenditure. Look down at what you're spending your money on. One of the biggest problems we have, even individually, is people do not know how much comes in and how much goes out and where it goes. And that is why we even tell people, do not go shopping when you're hungry. Because you're going to buy funny things you should not have bought.
Yeah.
So you need to know how much comes in, how much goes out, and to what, and how much do you retain. Because your wealth is what you retain. Yes. So don't spend everything saying there's not enough. There's more than enough.
I wanted to say that I think also Africans, we have a problem. We don't have a culture of saving, which we need to adapt. We need to teach now our children to learn or to have the culture of saving. On spending for parents, it's not everything that your child asks for you should give. Some things they don't even need, but because you have already shown them that whatever they need you will always buy, it's always available. I think sometimes you need to look at, does this child need this? No.
Sometimes it's not even just the children.
Yes.
Sometimes there's this housewife, then she'll see the way Sebi dresses up herself, and she's thinking, why should I be like this? So she also wants to be the same way the other person is. Sometimes there's the matters of comparison. Or there's even a gentleman who's feeling like I'm the only one who's not driving at work. All my colleagues are driving. So I also need to get a car and something.
Yeah, competing or living with the Jonases or something like that. Yeah, I mean, live your life. Keep to your lane. I can't afford a car. I have feet. There are matatus, there are bicycles. Please, let's stay on our lanes. Let's learn to live as per how we can.
And that does not mean
afford
that you are doing bad financially.
No, not really, not necessarily. It doesn't mean because my neighbor has a car, I need a car. No, and it doesn't mean I'm poor. You know, yes, but priorities, we need to
that's a very hard
prioritize.
sell for the young generation.
Very
These days
tough.
of loans on the phone.
Yes, oh my goodness.
I don't agree with you, especially if the father are capable and I mean, having your daughter a car does not really expose her to the other side of life that now she might not lack or she may lack. I think that's a form of, number one, it's to make her work easier for safety. I mean, so really.
And that's a conversation that we will continue with another day, because we just cannot finish up with that. Well, that's all the time that we've had for you right here on Talk to Pastor Chris, talking about dealing with financial crisis in a relationship. Just wanting to know, how do you go about it? Coming to you from the 4 Points by Sheraton right here in Harlingen. Don't go anywhere. Crystal is coming up next. We'll start with Crystal.